It's time for day one of making our Cheddar Bay biscuits, just like at Red Lobster. Here are the things that you're going to need in order to get started. First, our ingredients. You will need Bisquick, you will need cheddar cheese, and you'll need water. The Bisquick and the cheddar cheese will be at the ingredient table. You will measure them there and then take it back to your kitchen. The water will, of course, come from your sink. The equipment that you're going to need. Remember, you always get out your tray, your garbage bowl, and your measuring crate. The specific things we need from our measuring crate for this recipe will be our liquid measuring cup, and for the dry measuring cups, a 1 cup and a 1/4 cup. We'll also need a mixing bowl, a wooden spoon, and a regular spoon. Remember, we always start by washing our hands and setting up the dishwater. Now, let's get started with measuring. Alrighty, it's time to get started with measuring. Now, remember again that the Bisquick and the cheddar cheese are going to be at the ingredient table. You're going to measure it there and then bring it back to your kitchens. I'm going to do everything in the kitchens for filming purposes. So I took my tray with all my measuring equipment, my spoon, and my mixing bowl up to the ingredient table. The first thing that I need to do is measure out the Bisquick. Now if you look at your recipes, we need 1 cup. Because this is a dry ingredient, we're going to use our dry measuring cup. We're going to stir this up just a little bit. So remember, when anything powdery sits for a while, it can settle, which takes out that air, and we want air incorporated to make it nice and fluffy. Okay, I'm going to take my spoon, try to do this left-handed to give you a better view. Alright, I'm going to fill it up, I'm going to gently put it in. I'm not going to shake the cup to make it settle down, because again, that takes out all that air we just fluffed in there. We don't want rocks for biscuits, we want things that are light and fluffy. Okay, I'm just going to keep gently scooping. And I want the cup to be a little bit overflowing. I'm almost there. Okay, so you can see how it's kind of heaped up over the top. I don't want to put all of this into the mixing bowl because that would be too much. This is enough. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the back edge of my spoon here, start in the middle, level one way, level the other way. Then I have a full cup. I'm going to place that into my mixing bowl. Measuring cup goes back on the tray so I don't forget to take it with me. Second ingredient I'm going to need will be my cheddar cheese. I'm going to take my 1/4 measuring cup and I'm going to just use my fingers. Of course my hands are clean, I've washed them. Right? And I'm going to gently, I'm not packing in, I'm not pushing down on this. Fill it till it's a little overflowing and just get some of the extra off there. Again, I'm not going to pack it in. Right? Then I'm just going to add that into my mixing bowl. Put everything back on my tray and I'm going to take it back to the kitchens. So now that you're in the kitchen and you have your mixing bowl with your Bisquick and your cheddar cheese, we have a third ingredient. Third ingredient, of course, is our water, which you'll get from your sink. I have it in a pitcher so we don't have to walk back and forth with the camera. You'll remember from measuring your vegetable oil for your cupcake brownies that there are 2 sides. One's in the metric system, right? And one's in our traditional American system where we like cups for some reason, right? We're going to look for how much water do we need? 1/3 cup, the 1/3. Don't get confused and do 1/1/3 because then you're going to have some super liquidy biscuits. So we want to go to 1/3. We're going to set that on the counter, pour it down. Okay, and remember we're going to check that. We're going to come down to eye level. I still need a little bit more. There we go. I've got my 1/3. Alrighty, so now I have my bowl with my cheese, my Bisquick. I'm going to pour in the water. Time to mix everything together. I'm going to take my wooden spoon, give you a little close-up view here. Alright, I'm just going to mix it up here. Now I'm not going alright, because I don't want to get flour everywhere. All I want to do is make sure that all the powder gets incorporated, meaning mixed in, so it's not powdery anymore. Okay, we want it to be nice, liquidy, and goopy. Okay. Once it's all mixed in there so you don't see the powder left, That's all you need to do. You don't need to continue mixing and mixing it. If you keep mixing it for a long time after it's mixed together, it's going to make it tough when it bakes. And so again, you're going to have little rocks, which you don't want. Day 2 of our Cheddar Bay biscuits. Here's what we're going to need. Our ingredients. We'll need 1/4 cup of butter. We'll need 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, a pinch of salt, a pinch of onion powder, and a pinch of dried parsley. For your equipment, you of course need your tray, your measuring crate, your garbage bowl. Things that you'll need to get out would be your 1/2 teaspoon measuring spoon, a knife, your little glass prep bowl, your pastry brush, a cookie sheet, and you'll also need parchment paper. We'll talk about each of these things. Remember, of course, you will also need to wash your hands and set up your dishwater. Let's get started. Our next task is we need to get the biscuits ready for baking. So we have our cookie sheet and we have our parchment paper. We want parchment paper because it keeps it from sticking to the pan, and also it's going to make cleanup a lot easier. So be careful, there's a sharp edge here. You're going to pull till it's about the size of the cookie sheet, a little smaller. Carefully tear off. Now you're going to see it curls up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn that upside down, that way it stays flat. Alright, next thing we need to do is put the biscuits on here. So we have your dough from yesterday. We're just going to take a regular spoon, okay? And we're going to make biscuits, about that size. So we're not going to make them really huge, and we're not going to make them really tiny. Alright, we're going to start close to a corner, and it's going to be a little sticky, so we're just going to move it in. There we go. That's all you have to do. You do not need to put it in your hands and roll into a ball, because you're just going to make a great big sticky mess in your hands. So now we're going to take another good sized spoonful. Alright, we want to put it down the cookie sheet, not right next to the other one. These are going to expand as they bake, and if you put them real close together, they're going to run into each other and just make this conglomerated biscuit, which you don't want. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that until I'm done getting biscuits on the tray. All my biscuits are now on the tray. You're going to see that the amount is going to make about 5 biscuits. I'm going to take my aluminum foil that was covering the bowl and of course put that into my garbage bowl. And now it's time to put these in the oven. So I'm going to need my oven mitts. So we're at our oven. I have oven mitts on both hands. I'm going to go ahead and open up the door. The oven's already preheated. I'm going to put my cookie sheet right here in the middle of the oven. Okay, so I'm going to use both hands. Right, I'm going to push this in carefully to the middle of the oven. I don't want it hanging off of the rack. Set up in the middle, and then of course close the door. I'm going to go set my timer for the time that we're supposed to set it, which is 10 minutes. Okay, it's time to measure. Now, all of these ingredients will be up in the ingredient table. So you'll need to take your tray with your glass bowl, your knife, and your 1/2 teaspoon measuring spoon up to the ingredient table. The first thing we're going to need is our butter. Now remember, the measurements are actually printed on the butter wrapper for us. We need 1/4 cup. It will tell us, it says 1/4 cup equals 4 tablespoons, and then each of the tablespoons is marked. Okay, so we just count over 4 tablespoons, or if you look at it, the total is 8, so we can just cut it in half. All you got to do is take your knife and you're going to cut through, just saw a little bit, which will go through the wrapper easily. Okay, and all you need is 1/2, so put that on your tray. The other half you're going to leave for somebody else. If we look at our next ingredient, we need 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Alright, so we look for a spice container that says garlic powder on it. Now when we open this up, you can see it's set up to sprinkle. If I try to do this and shake it in there, I'm going to make a great big mess. So what you should do is simply take the lid off. Okay. We're going to scoop in here. It's okay to shake this a little bit until it's level. We're going to put that into our glass prep bowl. The next thing we need is a pinch of salt. Everybody, I think, knows what salt is. To get a pinch, what we want to do is put just a little bit in our hand, Then take your thumb and your forefinger and pinch, and then put that in the bowl. Now you're always going to be left with a little bit. Just go ahead and put that on your tray because you're going to be washing your tray anyway. We're done with our salt. Now we need a pinch of onion powder. Onion powder is another spice. Okay? So again, what we can do is just take off the lid. We're going to carefully tap until it moves to the edge, reach in, grab a little pinch, put it into our bowl. Our last spice is our parsley flakes. Parsley is mainly for color. You often see this on the side of your plate at restaurants. So again, we're just going to lightly tap till it comes to the edge. I'm not putting any in my hand. My hands are clean. So I'm just going to take a little pinch, put it in. Oops, I dropped some. I need to put the lids back on everything. Alright, if I made a mess, I need to clean it up. I got a little bit of parsley here. I'm just going to put that on my tray because I'm going to wash it. So now I have a little bowl with my spices in it. Okay. Now it's time to deal with the butter. I need to melt the butter, so first of all, I'm going to take the wrapper off. And then we need to put it in a microwavable bowl. I'm going to go with glass because it's unlikely to melt, unlike our plastic. Okay. Alright, I'm going to put the butter in the glass bowl. This is not the one I have the spices in. Alright, I'm going to put the wrapper in my garbage bowl because it is garbage. Let's just move that out of the way. I have my knife here. I'm just going to cut this in half, maybe a couple little pieces. That's going to make it melt a little faster. Right? Okay, and now I'm going to take it to the microwave to melt it. Alrighty, here we are at the microwave. Now unfortunately not everybody has the exact same microwave with the buttons in the same order, but you do all have the same general buttons. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glass bowl with the butter in it. I'm going to go ahead and cover it with a paper towel so in case it pops it's not going to make a huge mess in the microwave. Place it in the middle, close the door. I want to start with 30 seconds, so I'm going to type in 30. I'm not going to start yet because I don't want to do it at full power. You can actually program the microwave to go less than full power, which I want because it might start sputtering and spraying all over the place, and you definitely don't want that. I'm going to go to where it says power level on the microwave. So you want to look for the power level button, hit that. And then I'm going to hit 5. 5 means half power. That way the butter still melts in a good amount of time, but it's not like the outside starts popping while the inside's still cold. And then I'm going to hit the start button. Alright, I'm going to let it go 30 seconds and I'm going to check on it. Okay, it's finished, so we're going to pull it out. Now remember, it might be hot. It hasn't been in there very long, so just check it first. If it's hot, use a pot holder. Carefully bring it out. And if we take a look, make sure that it's all melted. If it's not all melted, we would put it back in for a little bit, but it is, so we're good to go. Our next step with the butter mixture is we're going to mix the butter up with the spices. So remember, I have my spice jar where I put my salt, my garlic powder, my onion powder, and my dried parsley. And I'm just going to dunk it in carefully. Alright. And you can just use your pastry brush to kind of stir it up a little bit. Alright, you want to make sure that it gets mixed in there so it's not just one big clump of spices in the middle of a bunch of butter. Alright. Now we're going to hold on to this and we're going to put it on top of the hot biscuits when they come out of the oven. They're looking pretty good here. They're light, they're fluffy, they've risen. We've got some brown on the top. So we're going to check the middles to see if they're done. You can do this a couple ways. You could use a toothpick, you could use a knife, you could use a fork. We're just going to use a fork. Alright, what you're going to do is choose one and you're just going to lightly press down in the middle. And you just want to see if it comes out clean. And you just kind of check in the little indentions to see if we see any raw dough. And it looks light and fluffy all the way through. So those are finished. Here's where the butter comes into play. So we have our butter spice mixture. As soon as we pull these out and we've made sure that they're finished, right, we're going to cover them up with this gooey, buttery spice mixture. That's going to give it that little bit of garlicky flavor that's so good from the Red Lobster. Okay, so I'm just going to take it, I'm going to cover the tops and the sides. Kind of move my arm out of the way so you can see there. Now, it's really unlikely you're going to use the whole thing. That would be an awful lot of butter. So just make sure that you coat all your biscuits, and then you're done with that. Okay. Now I've got them covered. Now we can't eat them just yet because of course they're still very hot. But also, whenever you bake things like cakes or cookies or biscuits, they actually continue to cook for a couple more minutes after you take it out of the oven. If I try to pull it apart now, it's just going to fall apart in a big mess in my hand. What I want is to let it sit for a little so it solidifies in the middle, and then it'll be ready to go. So we're going to let this sit here for about 3 or 4 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to make sure that all my other dishes are washed, including my butter dish. Alright, you've had a chance to let your biscuits stand here for a few minutes, so we're just going to go ahead and scoop them off the cookie sheet onto your plate. Ooh, those smell good. And there you have your plate of biscuits. We're going to check out and see what they look like on the inside. Alright, ready for our biscuits here. Let's open these up. Alright, see how light and flaky they look on the inside? Alright, we have those little air pockets. That's from fluffing up the Bisquick mixture, the powder mixture, to make sure that air was incorporated. And it's light and fluffy and oh so delicious. Enjoy!